Welcome, this is Colorado Cinema Spotlight, and I'm David Rasmussen. We've got two Colorado filmmakers with us this time, Melissa Bazis and Louis Leslie. Nice to have you join us today.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, pleased to have you. So let's find out a little bit about your background first, kind of how you got into all this, okay? Why don't we start with you, Louis? How did you first get interested in film?
Actually, yeah, I used to draw a lot. I used to consider myself an artist when I was younger. And then somehow that kind of transitioned into I was doing art, and then I was also writing short stories, and those kind of went together. And then I actually became a musician. I started writing songs, so I was doing a bunch of song lyrics for about 12 years. I was in a couple bands, and then after that I started writing short stories again, which later transferred into feature films scripts.
Okay, so the creative thing was always there. When did you first pick up a camera, though, and decide that's the way you were going to go, or think that was the way you were going to go?
Maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I did a couple of little projects with another guy back in Tulsa, where I'm from.
Yeah.
And you know, those were fun for experience and everything. And then I moved here about 5 years ago and really started taking it more seriously, and found out there was a community here, and just kind of jumped in.
Yeah, well, we'll find out that you really jumped and you're running full speed. We'll get more to that later. What about you, Melissa? How early did all this begin?
Well, I actually originally started on the stage as an actress, and then and so I did that all through high school, college, and even beyond regionally here in Denver. I'm basically from Colorado. I wasn't born here, but
great. Yeah.
And so I did a lot of stage, and then after that, I actually went in a completely different direction. I have a degree in nursing and cell and molecular biology. Worked in several different jobs there. And one day somebody just said, "Hey, do you want to come on a shoot with me?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" I'd been doing some other things consistently, as far as stage goes, also working in science. And then, hey, all right, this is cool, and made a few commercials. And that's kind of where I started, and then kind of gradually met people and found that my science background really worked well for organizing all these artistic types. So yeah, so that's a lot of what I do, is just make sure, hey, everybody's on time and everybody's there. But I love the end product. I love the artistic, value of what we're doing.
And the organizing. So you started as an actor, and then you moved into the director part of it.
That's
and now
correct.
you're pretty much sure that's where you're going to stay.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I couldn't go back if I tried, seriously. Yeah. So.
What about filmmakers or film that inspired you when you were younger? Was there television films? Was there a certain style, a type, a filmmaker that inspired you?
For me, I think when I was younger, I actually watched a lot of mostly television shows. There's a lot of movies that I do enjoy and that kind of thing. But I was very taken with mostly like Nick at Night. Honestly, like it's like we used to watch I Love Lucy and watch all the situation comedies, and I loved those kind of things back when I was younger. And now I don't know, I want to bring it to a broader scale. I never thought I would be here, and I feel very blessed that the community has embraced me and what I have to offer.
Yeah, yeah.
Both creatively and organizationally.
Yeah, as we'll see, as we'll see. What about you, Louis, filmmaker-wise?
Yeah, I've always been more into films than TV. Really, kind of just growing up watching everything that Steven Spielberg did, and then also on the horror end, John Carpenter is a big influence of mine. Yeah. I've just kind of always been more interested in the psychology of horror or thrillers or whatever that may be, and really that's kind of what draws me into a film.
Yeah, well, we're going to see that that's where a lot of the films we're seeing today, at least, that's their focus, although you have done other things as well. Mm-hmm. So we'll get more of that later on, too. One final thing I want to touch on, just background-wise, is schooling, film schooling. Have either had any
no
experience
film
there?
school here.
No film
I am
school?
a husband and father who just wrote for years and years, and then kind of evolved the passion.
Okay, and not for you either, other than
I also do not have any film school background.
Yeah.
Again, it's just, hey, cell molecular biology and nursing. So if someone bleeds on set, I'm right there. I
the
got
perfect
it. I got
training.
it. So
Yeah, well, in the blood, that stuff kind of works into some of the things.
yeah,
you're
it
gonna do
does.
too.
Yeah, hey, you know what? If
You
you
got
can
it
handle the
authentic.
gore in real, yeah, if you can handle the gore in real life, you can handle it on film.
I can't.
Yeah, yeah. But you are in some. Are you in some film circles in the,
Oh
in the
yeah,
Colorado
we
area? What kind
primarily
of
work
groups
with
are you
people
with?
who are film school graduates and have the technical expertise that we may lack.
Yeah, yeah. Be
They're
more
good
and more
about
of a
stopping
network.
us, like, hey, well, that doesn't make any sense. You just flipped the shot there, and we're like, oh, okay, thank you.
And a really good example of that is the Emerging Filmmakers Project. I
Yeah.
mean, we go there every month. We submit our own films, and Patrick Sheridan and the Bug Theater, they've really built something really great as far as that goes. And I feel like we've made most of our connections, and honestly, gotten honest critiques on our own work, and and in that way, you're kind of schooled a little bit. So.
Okay, so then how did this come that you both decided this would be a great partnership?
Well, I was originally, like I said, making commercials and some short films with another company, and that was actually about three and a half years ago. So we're about equal on the time length.
Okay.
But I met him and we decided we were going to do this project called the Music Box, and he wanted me to help organize it. And I said, okay, I can totally do that. We got the location, we got the props, we got the actors, we got everything in place.
We or
And-
you did all that?
Well, I did all that.
Group effort, right?
No, I'm pulling.
I'm sure you did your part too,
I'm
Lois.
pulling plates and cups and props from my, cabinet. Probably a couple days before the shoot, and going, is this going to be okay? And that sort of thing. Actually, one of my friend's grandmother's paintings is actually in the movie because it dressed the set. So anyway, with all of that. It just ended up being, hey, I was there, and we started talking, we started collaborating, and we'd never worked together before. He had visited one of my sets previously just to, see what it was all about, see what I was all about, and
That was your interview.
Oh, is that what
you
that
didn't know
was?
that.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah.
Now it's out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, you never know.
That's
true. So we shot it, and I don't know.
It's a great film.
It took off.
Okay, well, I think we'll talk a little bit more at some point about how you work together on projects and stuff like that. But I think we need to show them a film because they'll want to see some of your work, and it makes it so much clearer when we're talking about things, what type of filmmakers you are. So we want to start with Teddy's Ransom, and that's a film that you made a few years back, even before this partnership
Right.
with Melissa. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, tell us a little bit about Teddy's Ransom, where it came from.
Yeah, Teddy's Ransom, we found out about this contest called the Hint Fiction Film Contest that the Vail Film Festival was holding. You were to submit just a 1-minute short film. So we did, and I heard there were over 80 submissions, and we made the top 10. So
Wow.
we were a finalist in that contest, which allowed us to take it and screen it at the Vail Film Festival.
How much time did you have
And that
to
was
put
in 2012.
in 2012? How much time did you have to put this together?
I
this
believe there was
1-minute
about
film?
a 3-month
Okay.
deal Whopper, but of course we found out about it in the last weekend, so we shot it and cut it in 1.5 days probably. So that's kind of what
Wow.
we do.
Story of our life, honestly.
Yeah, but a great success, huh?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. All right, let's take a look at it. Okay, we're going to watch this whole film, 1 minute, Teddy's Ransom, by our filmmaker, Louis Leslie.
Broke and desperate, I kidnapped myself. Ransom notes were sent to interested parties. Later, I sent hair and fingernails too. They insisted on an ear.
Teddy, stop staring at me! Teddy, you're a sick, twisted little boy who will never get a girl like me! Teddy. Teddy. Teddy?
Welcome back. This is Colorado Cinema Spotlight. That was the 1-minute film Teddy's Ransom by our filmmaker Lewis Leslie. Great film. Pretty dark there, huh?
Oh, absolutely. You know, I always like to, test the limits and, see if we can get a visceral response out of the audience. That film's really interesting because it came together last minute, like I said, and basically we shot it in the girl who did the special effects, Dawn Bischoff-Probst, we shot it in her basement, and she did all the special effects work, and also her son is the lead actor. Her son Josh is the lead actor.
Does a
in the
great
movie.
job.
Yeah,
Had he acted before?
No.
Wow.
And then we had Emerald Oport come in, who was wonderful at laying on the table and saying Teddy a couple of times, and letting us cut her ear off. So that was a lot of fun.
Wow.
Not for real though, obviously.
So, what are the details of this contest? It was based on.
Okay, yeah, they had a hint fiction book, which was a piece of literature. They had a bunch of different stories in it, and basically they had a couple of different passages you could choose from, and you basically took that passage and then expanded upon it in whatever way you wanted to.
So it had to be very original and based on that particular piece of literature. Great.
Yeah, so the first line in that film is actually the line that we were provided, and then everything else after that we ran with.
Okay. Okay. Great. Well, it is. I think it's representative of some of the things we're going to see later too. You know, the darkness of the themes. Why? Again, you mentioned that a little bit earlier, but can you tell us a little bit more about why you particularly enjoy making horror films and what you hope to kind of get from the audience or to do?
There's a couple of reasons. I mean, I've always enjoyed watching horror films probably more than any other genre, just because it gets a response out of you and it gets a reaction and it takes you to that place that maybe you're not used to experiencing in real life. Hopefully you're not used to experiencing that. And also I think it's just because like overall I consider myself like a very straightforward and straight-laced person. So I think I use that to kind of delve into like, oh, I would never do this, but how cool would it be to explore possibly the thought process behind someone who's doing all these heinous acts.
Yeah. Well, this is a really loaded question, but there's all that conversation out there about how violent and horror films promote that kind of violence in society. What would be your response to that kind of argument?
I'm totally a pacifist. I'm totally, to not get political, but I'm like terrified of guns and everything, and I actually don't even like needles to get my blood taken. I'm totally not like that at all.
But putting that material out there, it's not about the material like itself. That's not necessarily even a catalyst. Because
it's more like the setting, right? I mean,
I'm sorry.
It's more like the setting.
It is more like the setting, but there are so many other issues in a horror film that a lot of people don't necessarily register with, or they don't, that's not the first thing they're thinking about. But as filmmakers, when we're making that stuff, we're thinking about what kind of relationships are being built, what kind of, messages are going on, not just, hey, we're going to slash people until they die. So I guess it's a disconnect for a horror filmmaker, because you see us and we're, just sitting here hanging out, and we're easily accessible as people. But we don't promote that kind of violence, because that's not what we're looking at. The violence at the end isn't the stuff. It's the psychological things behind it. And actually in society, if you want to worry about that kind of stuff, you worry about the psychology behind it. So that goes into a completely different realm of things that has nothing to do with what we're filming. I think
it's a great point, and I think you make it really well. And I think that's a good thing for people to watch when they see these films of yours and these clips, to keep that in mind, because they are very effective films, but for the reasons we're talking about and not for some other imagined reasons. Okay, so you went from this early film, which is wonderful. Now we're going to talk about the next one. We're going to talk about, I think, is Killer Inc.
Right.
Can you tell us a little bit about what this film is about?
So Killer Inc. is about Gage. He's a tattoo artist who moonlights as a serial killer by night. Basically, his mom was murdered, and since then he kind of got a taste for blood, and it's kind of one of those inside visceral things where he kind of doesn't know how to control it. So he doesn't do it in the sense of Dexter, where he's only killing bad people or whatever, but he kind of, if you make him a little mad, maybe you don't want to go back to his house that night. But really, it's about his relationship in his tattoo shop, and his relationship with his family, and kind of how he is trying to keep his killing a secret, or how he's trying to justify it to himself being, good or evil.
Now that was a much longer film. Is that
Yes,
feature
it's
length?
a feature.
or-
It's 92
Okay.
minutes, right?
Wow. Wow. Okay. How much time was there between those projects?
Killer Inc. was actually the first thing I shot.
So you were working on that already when
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
and I think it was probably about a 30-day shoot. I would say, yeah, and somehow we were lucky enough to score Peter Mayhew to be in the film.
Okay. And Peter Mayhew is?
Chewbacca from Star Wars, yeah.
Wow. That's great.
Yeah,
How
absolutely.
did that happen?
Okay, so Chris Romero, the lead actor in Killer Inc., he's good friends with a guy named Digger
Okay.
from California.
Who's also in the film.
Right, who's also in the film. And he also is really good friends with Peter Mayhew. So one day, Chris, we were already shooting Killer Inc., and Chris was like, hey, what do you think about Peter Mayhew being in the movie? And I was like, I think okay. I thought we were just trying to make a low-budget movie here, but apparently now it's pretty cool. So yeah, it feels like it's kind of just grown and grown, and it, you know, it's finished now, and it seems to have kind of a good following, and it's a grindhouse kind of horror film. It's a slasher, but you know, like she was saying, I mean, it's the psychology behind it. It's the relationships of the people who are in the film. We don't just go out there like some people may or may not do just to raise a body count. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I care about the main character. You know, what are his motivations behind it? Why? What happened to him? What would possibly cause someone to behave like this?
Right. Huh. And you came in this project at some point too, right? You've worked on it.
I did. We had the film had been released. That's actually where I met Lewis. Was the film had been released
Before your interview.
but before my interview?
Yes. Right.
No, yes, it was even before the interview. Hey, we had to exchange business cards
That's how
at
we
some
met the
point.
first time,
But
yeah.
yes, that is how we met the first time. Was the original Killer Inc. The original version was actually relatively successful on its own. It had several screenings locally, and me and my former partner, the other production company I was working with, came to see it because we wanted to support, you know, local filmmakers and that kind of stuff. And the funny thing is, Lewis always says, "Well, you were the only business card I got that night." But we were at the Oriental Theater, and I started bugging him, you know, after he'd taken it through all of those screenings and that sort of thing. I realized working with him that he wasn't really happy with the way that particular thing that particular version had come out. And so we wanted to revisit it. We wanted it to be more of his vision, what he wanted. And again, it really does go back to focusing on the characters and the psychology. And there were a lot of post-production things that had happened that took away from the story that he had written.
Wow.
So we said, let's revisit it. Let's take it in. And so I became post-production coordinator, took it through everybody again, you know, a different editor, different, you know,
Started
different
from
score.
scratch with all the raw footage,
We started from scratch. And just recently, we just screened it at the Oriental a few weeks ago, and with a really, really positive response. And we're planning on taking it to a couple more cities, also like tattoo conventions and that kind of stuff. I originally didn't. I wasn't completely enamored with the original version of the film, but once I got to know Lewis, once I knew what he had been looking for, we were able to help each other to get the film that he wanted, and we couldn't be more pleased with the way it turned out.
Okay. So what was the big change then that you made from the first version into this?
Honestly, the first version was
What was the thing you really
was
wanted
about
to recapture?
it was about 15 minutes shorter. Actually, it kind of felt just like an 80-minute music video. It had kind of a lot of flashy stuff here and there, and all the in-depth conversations that I am a big fan of were just cut short, or they were trimmed, and things were just kind of, I don't know, flashy for the sake of being flashy.
Yeah.
And I felt like a lot of the relationships between the characters were lost in that.
Yeah. So is there a particular thing about this final film, the character-wise or relationship-wise or theme-wise, that came out that you're really proud of?
Oh, absolutely. The relationship between basically the lead character, Gage, and just the people that interact most closely with him.
Yeah.
That is what I'm most satisfied with.
So you built him, the main character, you built a much stronger personality.
Because in the first version it seemed like he was kind of just, oh, I don't care, I'm just going to kill everybody. Now in this you kind of see like, oh, he's torn, you know, and he's tormented by it and everything, and here's why, and here's how it affects people close to him, and that's what I really wanted in the first place.
Okay, great. Okay, I think we're going to see a clip from this, right? Or
Absolutely.
the trailer? A clip from this. All right, let's take a look at it. Here's the trailer from the film Killer Inc. by our filmmaker, Lewis Leslie.
I don't know what's wrong with him, to be quite honest. He was always one of those kids that... I think it was his father that did it to him, to be honest. That's probably why Gage turned out the way he did. There was this one time where he came down and was sitting at the table and he goes, what do you think of this? Couldn't have been more than 16. Should have called the cops then. So, I guess as he got older, he liked to draw more and more. That's probably why he started doing tattoos. I guess he figured, take the little fairy drawings, put them on somebody's skin, get you some money that way.
Thanks for the eggs.
I don't know what's gonna happen to the boy. Boy. I guess technically he's a man now. A man like his daddy. Piece of shit.
Enough! Enough!
If I could get all those years back, I never would have had him. I know, it's not nice for a mother to say that. So what are you drawing anyway? Should have known more of your fairy drawings.
I love you, Mom!
Welcome back to Colorado Cinema Spotlight. That was a trailer from Killer Inc. by our filmmaker Lewis Leslie. Great film, great film.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we've got a lot to talk about. You two are also involved in another project, Dead Speak Tales, is that right? Tell us,
Right, it's
tell
a
us
horror,
about
yeah,
this.
it's a feature-length horror anthology like Creep Show and that kind of. We're trying to bring the old school horror films back, where each little piece, each little segment is done by a different director.
Okay, so a feature-length
yeah.
film made up of
Right.
four parts?
5 parts.
5 films.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You want to talk about those segments and the directors?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's very funny because the way we put it together, it actually is going together in the order that we're shooting it. So Monster in the Basement was first. Lewis wrote that and also directed it. And then he started kind of branching out and, bringing other people in. So the second one is Evocation of Shiganami. And Rodney West is the director of that one. And I believe he also wrote that.
Yes.
And
it's in a film festival?
It is. The Japan Film Fest of Hamburg actually just had made that an official selection of their festival. So we're really
cool.
proud of Rodney.
Great.
Absolutely. And then the third one is Dead Girls. Lewis wrote it. I directed it. And then we have On Your Heels coming up, and that is written and directed by Ryan Carroll. And then after that, we have Pond, which is going to be written and directed by Dustin Lawrence. So basically, we're just trying to, I really actually feel like we're like anyone who is anyone in the Denver film community be part of this anthology. Like, we're giving people, opportunities to direct and write, but again, we don't want any of the same actors in it, so we've been bringing in so much talent from all over.
Wow. And it gives you a chance to work with them, and it gives them an opportunity. That's great. And you've got somebody to do all the organizing.
I think we're just kind of lazy. Like, it's like, let me make a 20-minute short film, and then you make a 20-minute short film, and then you make a 20-minute short film, and we have a feature.
Hey,
And you
look,
got
there's
a
the feature. He knew with Killer Inc. like how much it really takes to make a feature, and so he goes, "How can I still make features but do it in a slightly,
Awesome.
You know, we
more-
can space it out, and it's okay. You don't lose the continuity or anything if you do
Exactly.
if you do them a few months apart.
And what is the device that ties the different films together?
Oh
in
yeah,
the
there's
anthology?
actually Emerald Oport again. Actually, is a radio announcer, and she's a radio host at a late night radio show where she takes calls and everything. And she has a segment called Freak Me Out Friday where people call in and tell ghost stories.
Oh, okay.
And so basically, to lead into each individual film, people call in and start telling a ghost story, which ends up being the next film in the series.
Okay.
It's a character from each
Yeah.
of the films.
Okay.
So, and we actually already shot the tie-in,
We did shoot that
and we still
already.
haven't shot two of the
To the
actual
films.
films. It's
what
gonna
we're
be
hoping
it's gonna
for.
be
Yeah.
fantastic.
That'd be
We're
great.
excited.
Yeah, we're going to see some trailers from the individual films, but you've also got a trailer for this whole set, right?
Yes, we
Right.
do.
Let's take a look at that, and that'll make very clear what we all just spent
Right.
time talking about. But let's take a look at that, shall we?
Yes.
Okay. So, Dead Speak Tales. All right, we're going to take a look at this trailer for this anthology, horror anthology that's coming up called Dead Speak Tales.
It's Freak Me Out Friday. Call in and tell me a scary story. See if you can make me shake in my boots. Hi, caller. You're on the air with Carrie Bodies. Do you have a scary story for us tonight? Hello? You're on the air. Is anyone there?
Hello?
Hey, caller. What's your name?
I'd rather not say.
Okay, then we'll call you Jason. Jason the machete-wielding killer. You have a story for us, Jason? And it better be scary. I don't know about you guys, but I'm definitely going to be losing some sleep after that one.
What is it? What are you talking about? Bosco's dead!
Thanks for the nightmares. We've had some real doozies tonight, not the usual gore and gore we're used to.
This isn't about vampires. It's about evil, awakened by rage.
I don't want to end up like those kids.
What kids?
The type that end up so alone they grab a gun and shoot up their school.
Wow. Watch out for creepers, people. You actually made my heart race.
My story's a little different. It's about a missing person. A girl.
I want to tell you about the sweetest girl I know.
I have a story.
That was the trailer from Dead Speak Tales by our filmmakers Louis Leslie and Melissa Bazis. Great. What more do you want to tell us about this series? It looks like it's going to be great.
Oh yeah.
It is going to be great. I mean, we are so blessed to work with the group of people that we work with on this entire thing, because there's been a continuity as far as the people who are shooting it, the people who are editing, the people who are doing sound. You know, particularly like Rodney West, you know, who has shot everything to date. For it, and then like Doug Gallup, he's done a majority of the sound. It is interesting to note that there's always got to be something that ties everything together. I mean, we have the tie-in story, but at the same point, what do the films, exclusively mean? Like, how do they mesh? And for this, if you start to notice when you watch all of them, there's actually kind of a enchanted like trinket in each of them that whether it be a piece of jewelry or something of the like that is kind of driving the story through. So that's something we want the audience to know. It's not 5 films we just decided to throw together. We do have a general theme there.
Very
so.
coordinated.
Yeah.
And you're thinking when you've got all the films finally made, you're going to rework it a little bit so that there's
Right, yeah. So we're going to basically take it all to one editor and one, sound engineer, which is Mike Henderson, who we've been working with at Plan 9 Studios, who did a great job on Killer Inc. and some of the other stuff we've been working on. And yeah, it'll just be good to have the continuity throughout, so it's not distracting that any of the audio doesn't match up.
Okay, well, you did one and you did the other, directing-wise at least. So let's look at a trailer from each one of these films just to get more of an idea of what this project's going to be like. Okay, let's start with Monster in the Basement. That's the first film in the anthology, right? Okay. Do you want to give us any brief about where this idea came from?
Yeah, this was actually one of the first short stories I ever wrote years ago, and then I just recently turned it into a short film screenplay, and it stars Hayden Harvey, who's wonderful, and we've worked with her many, many times. She's a great actress. Also. J. Michael Sterling, and then Audrey Walters and Shanna Grace. Really good movie. We got a couple of other people in there, but basically it's the story of Rebecca, who loved her dog more than anything in the world. Her dog passed away, so her parents were trying to get her to get a new dog, and she's still attached to the old dog. But then come to find out maybe this dog's not quite as dead as we all thought it was.
Okay, let's take a look at the trailer. Here's the trailer for Monster in the Basement by Lewis Leslie.
He didn't mean to. He's a good doggy, he really is. How about we go look for a new dog today? I don't know.
Can I see where you buried your dog?
Elena.
Hello?
I'm sure she'll turn up. She's not gonna turn up. It doesn't work like that.
Elena spent the night here last night.
Yes, sir. It's too early to tell. But she is missing.
What did you do with her, Rebecca?
I didn't do anything, Danny. I love Elena.
What did you do?
What is it?
I never left my room.
That was the trailer from Monster in the Basement by Lewis Leslie. All right, can't wait to see the film.
Thanks.
Were you pleased how this came out? It was based, you said, on a short story you wrote a long time ago.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Just seeing anything you've written come to life is always really amazing, and it always exceeds my expectations every time.
Now, have you been working with the other director or film writers at all on their scripts at all, or are you giving them
I haven't worked on any of the scripts except for Dead Girls, the one that Melissa directed.
Okay, all right. And that's not the second film, that's the third film in the series, but we're going to look at that one next, okay? So this is basically your directorial debut, is that right?
Yeah, it is.
How'd it go? How'd it go?
It was definitely a journey. I mean,
it was a dream come true.
It was a dream come true. We had all kinds of different casting issues and location issues. I mean, just the general things that go along with any, film. And I couldn't have asked for the cards to fall any straighter. I mean, just really pleased.
Great, great. And you wrote the script, so was that, you've probably done a lot of collaborating in that way, but in this show it worked really, really well.
Yeah, it really did. He sent me the script and he said, you know what, I just want you to direct this. And I was like, sure, why not? And he was on set, the whole time. He was, AD and script supervisor, and you know how we all wear 8 different hats.
Slating, I was the clapper.
Anyway, you did the slate. So, I was really pleased with how this turned out.
Okay, well, let's take a look at the trailer and then we can talk about it. more detail about it. Okay. All right, here's a trailer from the film Dead Girls by our filmmaker Melissa Bazis.
Have you ever lost someone you truly care about? Someone who means the world to you? I just wish I knew what happened that night.
About Libby.
What do you know?
Where's the bracelet? The bracelet, it has certain powers.
The bracelet. It speaks to me.
What did you do to her?
You really want to know what we did?
Libby!
We're finally gonna see her again. It's been far too long, brother. Tell me where it is.
I don't know.
Tell me where it is!
I don't know what I'm doing anymore then.
I'm done playing nice. Let him go. This is our sister we're talking about. What's happening? Give me the bracelet!
But tonight is all we have.
Welcome back to Colorado Cinema Spotlight. That was the trailer from Dead Girls by our filmmaker Melissa Bazis. All right, great debut. Wonderful. So tell us about making this big film.
It was a lot to undertake for, for what I was going for, but I always say, it really is a go big or go home kind of thing. When I read Lewis's script, I wanted to do it justice because I saw in my head exactly what he wanted. So we had 18 dead girls. They were models and actresses, from the Denver film community. And then we had 2 special effects makeup artists, Evil John Mays and Thomas Giles. And they made up these girls. And these girls came at the crack of dawn to the old studio. By the way, have to shout out to them. A great place to film. And they waited 6 hours to, get into makeup. And then once they're in the chair, they're there for another hour. And the styles between Evil John Mays and Thomas Giles, I was really impressed with the way that they melded as far as, the look I was looking for in those 18 girls. But seriously, couldn't be more happy. The other thing is I have to give a shout out to my actors, the main actors, because they, and that's Cougar Littlefield, Luke Bannum, Emily Absher, and Christopher Gray, they brought the emotion, like we were kind of talking about earlier, they brought the emotion to the story. I mean, it really is the story of finding the people that you've lost and trying to bring them back to you. And it's not a slasher. It's not it's really just that psychological, how do I bring the person that I love back? How do I have that one more minute, that one more day? And I mean, that part of the story really, really touched me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, was that great? And the bracelet was in this one big time. You really see how that...
The bracelet was everything, and
Yeah.
I got that at Goodwill for 50 cents. So bam, I was like, that one right there.
You never know.
You never do.
Well,
So.
I'm sure it's going to be a great anthology when it's finished. It's off to such a great start, and I wish we could talk about it more. But we got a couple more big things that we still want to talk about for you. Let's go back to that one we mentioned way earlier, Music Box. I think that's the one where you really it was a joint effort for the two of you.
Right.
And this film is very different than the horror films that we've been looking at so far. Okay. So give us a little background on this, Lewis.
This one, actually, I started off bouncing ideas off of Patrick Sheridan. And he was part of kind of Melissa and I and Patrick Sheridan kind of created this this film. That was for a contest for the Phenom Film Festival in Louisiana. Now what they did is they gave you a script. You could choose from one of 3 scripts, and then you just shoot this script. And of course, me being me, I said, well, can I change the script? And they said, as long as it tells the same story, Yes. So
Oh, okay.
that's where Patrick and I started bouncing ideas, off of each other, and we fine-tuned the script. And actually, I originally approached him about being the cinematographer, which he quickly asked if he could be the lead actor instead. And of
He does a
course,
great job.
of course, I agreed. So we got him and Laura Mayo in that as well. And then that was actually shot by Mark Mook.
Okay.
And that was his cinematography debut, and he did an amazing job.
And edited by Ryan Carroll, who edits a lot of our stuff, and he did a great job.
Yeah. So the film was made just for the festival, or it
Right.
was okay? Okay.
Yeah, there was a contest being held by the festival.
Wow. Wow. And fortunately, we get to see this entire film, right? We got the whole film to look at. Yeah, it's beautiful. Let's go ahead and take a look at it, and then we can come back and talk about the details, because it's really an interesting film, especially after the ones we've already seen.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. All right. All right. Let's take a look. The entire film, Music Box, by our filmmakers Louis Leslie and Melissa Bazis.
And Patrick Sheridan.
I thought I'd make some afternoon tea.
Is this the last of them?
I thought, I don't know, that maybe it would be the civilized thing to do. I need this, Noah. Humor me. It's our anniversary.
Our anniversary's in September.
It is September. Remember how fat we used to be? All that yard work, it really started to, well.
I should go. You look really pretty today.
Do you still love me?
Everything I do is because of it.
Then make it back. Noah.
I was saving it for, well,
September.
yeah, September.
This is Colorado Cinema Spotlight, and that was the film Music Box by our filmmakers Louis Leslie and Melissa Bazis. Really interesting film, a lot different than the earlier ones we saw. So tell us a little bit more about this project. It's great.
You want to take it?
Absolutely. So Louis presented me with the script, and we organized it, in a few days, and as we usually do. And luckily, we had an amazing editor, Ryan Carroll. The very funny thing about the editing process of this is when we started shooting, it was not raining. And we were doing an outdoor shot. The final scene was the first part that we shot, and so
in broad daylight.
In broad daylight, and then we're out, we're inside, and all of a sudden a thunderstorm just starts appearing out of nowhere, and you can hear it inside, and it's like there's no way around it, and we're kind of going, all right, I guess now maybe it's raining. So can we do this? And Ryan actually put in all the rain for that final scene. Yeah, so he did an amazing job. I've watched it on Blu-ray, HD and that kind of stuff. And seriously, we couldn't ask for anyone more talented than Ryan as far as editing and the special effects.
And the thunder you're hearing during the scene, that's actual real thunder.
Yeah, the stuff inside, everything interior, that was actually happening. That's actually
sound that was added.
That's sound capture right exactly as it's happening. Real life, reality rain.
He also did the desaturation of color to give it kind of, that closer to the monotone color to give it kind of more drab feel that we were going for.
Yeah.
Well, with the post-apocalyptic kind of theme, we wanted to see it kind of look like that. So he did a fantastic job. We couldn't be more happy.
So how do you feel about this style of film as opposed to the horror genre? You
satisfied
with
it's a lot
it?
of fun.
You really
Yes,
like it?
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's really important to sit there as a filmmaker. I mean, you never actually want to sit there and be pigeonholed into one genre, because people aren't pigeonholed into one genre. We all have different emotions and different feelings and that kind of stuff. And so as a filmmaker, trying to capture the human experience or even transcend the human experience like we do with horror, fantasy, you want to be able to experience all those things. You want to be able to give your creative voice to that. So.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome.
We never really considered ourselves horror filmmakers. It just kind of started out that way.
Sure.
And, we went with it for a while, and then, we've branched off and then come back and just depending on whatever the needs of the project are.
Yeah.
It's the importance of the project. It's the beauty of the project itself, whatever genre it is. I mean, we do come back to horror a lot, but that's because we believe in those scripts. But we believe in, the scripts that we shoot. It doesn't matter what genre they are, as long as we believe in them and feel like we can really give our voice and our creativity and make it a good project. That's what's important.
I'm sure that's brought some of the range that you brought into this project, But then I think something like the music box is so sweet and unpredictable too. That was just a beautiful element of this film, along with the thunder and everything else that came
the
along.
actual music box, yeah.
Oh, yeah. A guy named Larry Pritchard, who is friends with Patrick Sheridan, brought the music box and the guns and all the artillery and everything like that. He also ran sound that day for us, so he recorded the on-set sound. Okay. Huge help, yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's great. That's great. And I understand you won an award for it too, right?
We sure did. Yes, we did.
Yeah, from the Phenom Film Fest, the Fez Award.
The Fez Award. The Fez that actually is wearing a Fez, has some 3D glasses, looks like an Oscar, but it's a cute little thing. And Tony Fox came out from the Louisiana Film Festival to give that to it, from the Phenom Fest, to give it to us at one of the EFPs, the Emerging Filmmakers Project. And it was awesome because it's such a rewarding thing to sit there and have somebody, actually recognize your work in that way, give you a little award. It may not be an Oscar, but we still stood up there, proud as we could be of our team and all the work that everyone put into it. And we kept passing the award around. I remember we were all sitting in the same row. It's like, let me hold it for a second. Okay, here, hold on. Let me hold it for a second. It's like there were the, posing pictures and that kind of stuff. But I mean, it was a lot of fun. It was a very, very rewarding night for us.
Let's not forget one other key member of our team, Dustin Lawrence.
Oh, heavens.
Who I met on a trailer shoot, but the music box was also the first thing that he really worked with us on, all as a group. And he's basically been our key grip ever ever since. He's also the one who's directing one of the stories for the anthology.
For the anthology.
Yeah, he's a
the one that's
filmmaker.
doing the
He is
final.
in film school and everything, but he's, kind enough to lend his talents to us whenever, we're doing a shoot also.
Well, obviously people enjoy working with you. So they know a good thing.
It's the good food. We actually have the best craft services of anyone in Denver, and that's because I cook. So.
Well, that's the
That
trick.
is true.
Yeah.
It's a hard trick to match, I'm sure.
So.
Okay, we've got one last film of yours that we're going to look at a trailer from, I think. And that's called One Way. And this film is very different than the other things we've seen. So now tell us a little bit about the film, first of all, what it's about, and then how you came upon this project.
Right, yeah. So One Way is the story of William Decker, played by Heath Hine. He's a failed businessman. His relationship with his girlfriend is failing since his finances are tanking. And he basically goes in search of a mentor. So he finds a successful businessman to mentor under and kind of teach him, the rules of making a successful business. Little does he know, the whole time Rex Cromwell, played by Andy Hankins, who is the mentor, is really teaching him life lessons, not just business lessons. It's a faith-based film, and it's about a 30-minute short film. Hayden Harvey is also in that one. Yeah, and it's in post right now.
Okay, let's look at the trailer. Okay, and One Way is the film.
Yes.
All right, this is a trailer for the film One Way by our filmmakers Louis Leslie and Melissa Bazis.
I've told you 100 times. I just want things to go back to the way they were.
I'm working with Rex. I'm trying to make more money.
It isn't working. I expect a certain level of
Of what? I'm doing my best.
I don't know.
I know. You want me to parade you around like some kind of princess, is that it?
I deserve that. This came for you.
How long have you had this?
Just today. Well, what is it?
They said it was a done deal. Pre-approved, they said.
Will, what's going on?
I met my wife over 20 years ago in college. Flowing blonde hair, beautiful eyes. I'd never seen such perfection.
I should probably go. I'll see you back at the office.
That was the trailer from the film One Way by our filmmakers Louis Leslie and Melissa Bazis. Okay, very different film. Looks like it's going to be. It's going to be great, though. Can you tell us a little bit more about how this project came about?
Yeah, actually, a friend of mine, Chris Rogers, at my church that I attend, he actually approached me with a story idea and wanted us to see if we could make a little film to raise some money for the church and raise awareness for just the faith that they believe in and everything like that.
Great, and you were immediately open to that and thought, sure, I can
Oh,
do that.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, the very cool thing, I mean, when Louis approached me about it, the very cool thing that I love about, the entire script and the entire idea is it's not completely like, hey, it's about, hey, this is the way to, faith, this is the way to religion, this is the way to heaven, that kind of stuff. It's about your journey just to become a better person, to live the morals, to live the life that, that God may want you, to live. And even, I think it can reach a lot of people. And I believed in it so highly. And people from many different faiths actually worked on the film. Yeah. And I think that speaks to the inspirational nature of the story itself. And And so we're very proud of that. I mean, that was an excellent
Let's
shoot.
figure out who else is in this movie. Kei
Kei-
Taviyama.
Yep.
Kendra Buck.
Yep. And then, God, there were so many people.
Okay, so
That's the
Jonathan
problem.
Wright.
Jonathan Wright. Rick.
Rick McGovern.
Yep.
Who actually just came in from California, and he's a writer, and he was kind enough to just act in our film.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, no, that was awesome. You already mentioned that Hayden was in it, and so, I mean,
Tim
honestly,
Nolte shot the film.
He did shoot the film, and he did this amazing shot. I can't tell you about it. The first thing that we all saw, there was a shot of headphones. That's all I'm going to say as far as this goes. But there's a shot of headphones trying to be thrown from the head to the bed. And that was the first post that we ever saw was these headphones landing. And it was the most powerful thing. We all went, oh my gosh, we have to post this everywhere.
Well, the funny thing is they kept falling off the bed and everything every time she would throw them, so we actually taped the cord to the bed. And they were like, oh yeah, tape the cord to the bed, so then it just only went a certain distance.
It took a really long time to get that shot, but we loved it.
It was great.
Just, you know.
Slow motion goodness.
There were so many things that were great about that film. I mean, granted, actually one of them is that I work at one of the locations that we shot at now, and that's how I got the job. We're
like, hey, can we come in here and film?
And they're like, sure.
And now Melissa works there.
Now I work there. So, yeah, it was
You do a lot of interviewing kind of
right?
in oblique ways.
Yeah, so it was cool.
That's great. Well, it's obvious why people want to work with you. I mean, you're just a joy to be with, and you do really good work and very creative and original. So I'm sure we're going to be seeing a lot of good things in the future, and we want to see some of the stuff we already can. So what's the best way for people to kind of see your work and follow and track what you're doing?
We have a Facebook page, facebook.com/underfirestudios, and then the number 1 at the end.
Okay.
And we also have a website, underfirestudios.com.
All right.
We have some of our trailers on there as well. And
Okay.
more information about all of our screenings and all that. You can catch up on there.
Okay. Well, I'm sure there's going to be lots of great future developments. So we'll look forward to seeing what happens and seeing these. Thanks so much for being on Colorado Cinema Spotlight. You guys have both been just great.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, you're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, sorry to say goodbye. This is Dave Rasmussen, Colorado Cinema Spotlight. If you have any comments about today's show, by all means, let us know through Facebook. And if you're a Colorado filmmaker, if you know of somebody who makes films in Colorado, we'd love to meet them. So just let us know again through Facebook. Thanks for joining us.